Good morning, students. Today we will start with the revision of chapter 3, that is countable and uncountable nouns. Simply, you must be understanding the meaning of the terms countable and uncountable. Countable means the things that we can count in numbers, and uncountable are the things for which we cannot give a number, or we cannot count them in terms of number. We cannot provide the number for that. So those are the uncountable things, and this countable and uncountable is used for the noun only. So whenever we are writing a sentence and whenever we are using the nouns, how can we write the countable nouns and how do we write the uncountable nouns? So let's start. First, we will start with the countable nouns. So what is the thing with the countable nouns? That whenever we have to write the countable nouns, we usually use, see if I'll divide this in two parts here, countable, and here we will discuss uncountable. So what is the first point of difference between the two, the countable noun and the uncountable noun? It is first the things that can be counted. And here the things that cannot be counted. The next thing that we are going to discuss, that whenever we are using the countable nouns, we use a or an whenever we are talking about the countable nouns, we can use a and an, but normally with the uncountable nouns, we don't use a or an. So if we talk about the example for the countable noun or the uncountable noun, two caps, three windows, means here we can count the things, the number of caps we can count, the number of windows we can count. But what can be the examples for the uncountable noun? For example, milk, water, sugar. These are the examples of uncountable noun because these are the nouns for which we cannot provide a number. So these are the uncountable nouns. Since we can use here a cap, a window, so in this way we can use a and an with the countable nouns. But whenever we are talking about the uncountable noun, a milk, a water, a sugar, not possible. You can say a glass of milk, a glass of water, but not a milk or a water. So whenever I'm saying a glass of milk or a glass of water, so that a is used for the glass, which is also a noun, and glass is a countable noun. That's why there we can use a or an, but otherwise with the uncountable noun we do not usually use the a, an or one. Now, in the countable nouns and in the uncountable nouns, at both the places there will be singulars and plurals. The things there, when we are using it in one only, or when we are talking about for the things that are there more than one. So whenever we are using for the singular countable noun, we can use this, that, a, and so many other. We can use also the possessive pronouns here. But whenever we are talking about the uncountable noun, the uncountable nouns can be, even if it is singular or plural. Here we do not talk actually about the singular or plural. So they can be stand, they can stand alone. We do not need to point out the things. And here in the countable noun, whenever we are talking about the plural, then we can avoid the use of an or this or that. If even if you want, you can use these or those, but you can avoid the use of these words also, and you can write the plural form of countable noun. Whereas for the uncountable noun, you need not to write any such thing. You can directly write these things. For example, I prefer rice. So you can write here these things directly without any indication, or we do not use a or an because we cannot tell you the number of such things. That is why these can stand alone. Next, whenever we are talking about the countable noun, we use the words many and few, because here we can count the things, but where we cannot count the things, we use much or little. How many rupees? Or here we can say how much milk. We never say how many milk. Few books, little milk. We never say few milk or little books. If the number is less, if the number of books is less, then we will say few books. If the quantity of the milk is less, then we will say little, but we will not use the few. Here in the uncountable, we will not use these terms, and in the countable, we will not use these terms. But some of the terms are there which can be used in both the countable nouns as well as in the uncountable nouns. Which are the terms? Some, any, a lot, here also in the uncountable we can use some, any, a lot. Give me some money or give me some milk. Both the things are correct. Whereas whenever we are talking about the money, that is countable noun, we can count that. Whenever we are talking about the milk, that is the uncountable noun, we cannot count the milk, we cannot determine the milk in number, but we can use some with these things. A lot of sugar, a lot of books. Books, countable noun, sugar, uncountable noun. But a lot we can use at both the places. So these are some of the basic differences. Further, the use of these words or the countable nouns or the uncountable nouns also depend on how they are used in the sentences. For example, if you are writing for a particular word, then that can be countable noun. If you change the term for the same thing which is giving you the same meaning, there can be uncountable noun also. So in English, there is separate countable noun and uncountable noun referring to the same meaning. For example, you must have studied these things when you were discussing about this chapter. We have a list of some of those words. For example, a job. Here, this is the countable noun. But for the similar thing, we can write work. He is doing a job, he is doing work. We never say he is doing a work. Work will be uncountable, job will be countable. So we will use a with the job. A journey, travel. A journey is countable, travel is uncountable. A poem, poetry. We will say a poem, but with the poetry, we will not use a, one, two, three, anything. So, poetry will be uncountable, poem will be countable, whereas both the words are giving the same meaning, but for deriving the same meaning, we have the countable form also and the uncountable form also. A meal, food. What is the charge for a meal? What is the cost of the food or the charge of the food? We will not say a food. Next, a loaf. Here it is bread. The whole piece of bread is known as the loaf when it is not divided into the pieces. So that is loaf, but otherwise it is bread. So we can say a loaf, but whenever we are using the bread, we will not use a climate. Sorry, it is climate only. And weather. This is considered as countable. This is considered as uncountable. So here, these are some of the words about which we can say that which one is countable, which one is countable. Both are having the same meaning, but if you write these words, you can write count. You can take it as countable. If you write these words, these will be the uncountable nouns. Now, whenever we are talking about the uncountable nouns usually refer to the substances and the abstract things. Whenever we are talking about the uncountable nouns, what are the abstract things? We have discussed about the abstract noun in the previous class when we were discussing about the classification of noun. So, for the uncountable noun, mainly there are two things, the substances and the second one is the abstract things. Abstract things means the abstract nouns. So, substances, as we have discussed, flour, milk, sugar, water, all the substances can be used as the uncountable noun. Whereas, whenever we are talking about the abstract things, wisdom, knowledge, love, care, beauty, all these are the uncountable nouns and abstracts which you cannot physically touch. Those are the abstracts. So wisdom you can understand, knowledge you can understand, love, care you can feel, beauty you can see, but you cannot physically touch those things. You cannot touch the love, you cannot touch the care. So these are the abstract things, and for these things we call them the uncountable nouns. Now, there are some nouns which are countable in English and in the Indian languages. For example, these are the uncountable: advice, information, homework, traffic, bread, poetry, luggage, as we have discussed a few of the examples. So many a times you will realize when you write or when you speak the use of countable and the uncountable nouns, because in practical we can understand these things in a better way.